or whatever. Okay, all right, bye. Do you have anybody else wanting to come in? Nope.
Do we have any other commissioners coming in?
We should.
They have 1 minute to arrive.
Yeah.
Hi, Irma.
Hi. Sarah, is Rose there with you too?
Yeah, she's getting her laptop because we need to check the conflict of interest map, possibly for Art.
Ah, okay.
Bob's coming in. I'm gonna put in my tape.
Mr. Vice Chair, you're still muted. There he is.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Bob.
Hello.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, Irma. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good seeing you too.
Good to see Andrea and Aaron and City of Buellton's kind of blank. There she is.
It's the chair.
Yeah. Hey, Patty.
Hi.
Hi.
Figure out that monitor, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
And hi, Bob. I'm Gavin.
Hi, Gavin. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Claire, did we get a response from, you said Art is on his way and Marcelo?
I don't know if Art is on his way.
Good.
It was Bob. We have Taylor Judkins coming in right now.
We have a nice lineup of guests tonight, guest speakers.
Oh, really?
Looks like it.
Or observers?
Applicants,
Okay.
architects.
Wow. This may be the most people we've had at a meeting for a while.
I know, it's a lot. Okay, we do have a quorum, so I'll give the
Let me
other.
go ahead and turn on my tape.
Okay,
Give us
Patty?
a second.
yeah,
Can we just maybe wait 1 or 2 more minutes while Rose
Sure.
is? That would be great. Thank you.
sure. But Claire just turned the tape on, so
I did. And Rose is going to be switching us over in a minute.
Hi, Tony. Bob.
Hey there, Bob. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Great. Good to see you. It's been you.
Art is coming now.
We'll talk in
Looking
a
for
bit.
the conflict of interest map.
I can barely hear you, Tony. I'm sorry. Maybe I need to turn up my volume.
And
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
right
Can you
corner
hear me any better?
Oh, okay. I bet it's my volume somehow. Oh, yeah.
oh, there's Art.
Okay,
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
thanks.
Talk in a bit.
Hi, Art.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, Art.
Good.
Hey, Mr. Bob, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good.
We couldn't start the meeting till you got here since you're supposed to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
But yeah,
That's right.
We would have had to break in the first alternate. I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
Madam Chair, we're not quite ready.
Okay,
And I have to tell you, Patty, someone was using your email in vain.
uh-oh.
Oh, I
is
got that too, Patty.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
yeah,
Yeah. You've been
Oh.
hacked.
They're trying
Uh-oh.
to trick us.
okay. I'll call my IT guy.
Yeah.
It's okay. We caught it.
Was it trying to pose as a City of Buellton type of thing, or?
Well, they wanted to. I didn't get it till late because my cell phone was acting up, and I was at the river, and so I don't have any cell service. So I didn't get it till like 10:30. And you had asked a request for me to help you with a certain project. And I said, "Oh,
Right.
fine." And next thing I know, the next morning I'd gotten said, "Well, they wanted me to go purchase 5 debt cards and in somebody's name." I said, "Okay, this is the same." Same thing happened to Holly, and
Oh, okay,
last
Oh.
year. So I just deleted it, and
okay.
Yeah, Patty, what they said was, oh, I need to talk to you about a project and it needs to be discreet.
yeah.
Really,
Uh-oh.
seriously. And it sounded naughty. So I knew that couldn't be you.
That's right.
The property line, because it's all part of this one lot. Oh, he'll be in here. There's McMurray.
Yeah.
That's the gas station.
Okay.
'Cause it's one parcel.
Okay, so he's in it.
He's gonna be in it. I'll still look up the other one to confirm. Okay. Almost there, unless, is it going straight to that project right now?
That's the first one after the minutes.
Okay.
But what do you think? Should we start up the meeting?
No, we're still waiting for Rose for some technical something.
Oh, okay.
There's a question on the 500-foot
Yes,
limit
and it
because
looks like
I live on Freer, so I'm within
Oh,
the
so,
property line.
we did find a map in here. It's an old one, but it does look like Art he's within the 500-foot range.
yeah, so the property line would be for just the one parcel that this particular.
Right. Right.
It was subdivided, so it's
His
just,
circle's in there.
his circle is in there.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Well, good. Thank you for letting me know.
Did we start, Rose?
Should we reorder the agenda then?
Yes.
Well, the public hearing is first. That's true. Well,
We can start now.
We could reorder the agendas. Yeah, that would be fine.
And we
Whatever
can,
works. I'm once I recuse myself, I'll go mute, and then you guys, I'll come back in for the other one, whichever works.
Okay,
we're ready.
okay. Well, I'll just keep it with the agenda then. Okay, we will call to order the City of Buellton's Planning Commission for Thursday, February 18th. Call to order. Commissioner Mercado, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Everybody please stand and put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States
of America,
and to the
and to the
republic for which it
republic
for which
stands,
stands
one nation,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
with
justice.
liberty and justice.
for all. Oops, I can't get my chair.
And now I was having the same problem.
Okay. Claire, will you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Liggett,
Here.
Commissioner Sarkia, not here. Commissioner Mercado,
Here,
Vice Chair Blockdyke,
Here.
Chair Hamel.
Here. Okay, we will keep the correct order of the agenda. Presentations, none. Approval of minutes from the regular Planning Commission of January 7th.
I would like, go ahead.
I approve that the minutes of the regular planning commission of January 7th, 2021.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote. Commissioner Mercado,
Aye.
Vice Chair Blockdyke,
Aye.
Commissioner Liggett,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarkis is absent, Chair Hamel.
Aye. Okay, public comments. This is where members of the community can address the planning commission for any matters that are not on the agenda. No action will be taken. And Claire, do we have any general public comments?
We do not have any comments.
Okay. Consent calendar, none. Continued public hearings, none. New public hearings. Should I read it off before Art excuses himself?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. New public hearings. Resolution number 21-03. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Buellton, California, approving a conditional use permit 20-CUP-02 to establish a restaurant, bar, and small batch distillery use in units 105 and 106 of Pad A of the Crossroads Commercial Center located at 328 McMurray Road, assessor parcel number 137-790-019, and making findings in support thereof.
Madam Chairman,
Yes?
I need to recuse myself due to the proximity of my residence at this time.
Okay. And then maybe one of us will notify him when it's
Yes.
time to come back in.
Yeah, I can go ahead and send him a text message when this is over. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Planning Director Andrea, will you start the discussion?
Sure. Good evening, Chair Hamel and members of the commission. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Just a moment. Let's see. Claire, can you go ahead and enable me to share my screen?
My mouse isn't working. Hold on. Okay.
All right. Everybody see my screen okay?
I need something. Give me a box.
Oh, let's see. Can you,
Small box by the front door.
can everybody see my screen?
I can see it.
You can see it. Okay.
Can see it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, good evening, Chair Hamel and members of the Planning Commission. Tonight we have the application for a conditional use permit. The California Tacos Restaurant, Bar, and Small Batch Distillery. The project is located at 328 McMurray Road in Suites 105 and 106 in Pad A of the Crossroads Center. So this next slide just shows you sort of an overview there. So on the left-hand side of your screen, I have outlined the entire Crossroads Commercial Center. And then on the right-hand side there, you'll see the Pad A, and then in darker gray is the two pads that this project would be located in. So the project site is located in the village-specific plan with an underlying zoning of general commercial. And the current uses in Pad A of the Crossroads Center is the vacant unit that we're discussing tonight, H&R Block, and then Cottage Urgent Care. So the proposed project before you tonight proposes the following uses within an existing approximately 2,600 square foot vacant tenant space. The primary use proposed is a restaurant with a commercial kitchen, which would the area for patrons, or the seating area for the restaurant, is approximately 1,300 square feet. The secondary or accessory uses proposed include a full service bar and a small batch distillery. Some other ancillary uses include restrooms and storage rooms as well. I will go into more detail on each of the proposed uses later on in the presentation. And we'll just continue on here. So a conditional use permit is required for the bar and the distillery use per the village specific plan. The bar specifically requires the conditional use permit per the specific plan, and although a distillery use is not listed, it can be considered on a case-by-case basis per the village specific plan. And just to elaborate on that a little bit, the distillery use, the distillery is very similar to, can be categorized in the category such as handicraft industries, small scale manufacturing, which is a land use allowed per the general commercial zone. A CUP is also required for restaurant uses. The original Crossroads Center did allow restaurants. However, a restaurant was not originally anticipated within this particular pad or this particular suite. So therefore, a conditional use permit is also required for the restaurant. The hours of operation proposed as part of this application are 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days per week. And as part of this application, there is no outdoor seating proposed. So here you have the proposed floor plan for the interior of the California Tacos restaurant, bar, and small batch distillery. So if you just start at the bottom of the screen, that would be the primary entrance point to the unit there, and that would be on the east elevation. As you kind of walk through, you enter in through the guest waiting room, and ahead of you would be the bar. To your left would be the small batch distillery with some bar seating. And as you enter further into the unit there, you have the dining area, and toward the back, you've got the commercial kitchen that services the restaurant, as well as the storage room and the restroom facilities. So here you have the proposed elevations. So as you are aware, the project would be located inside an existing building. However, I have included the elevations in this presentation because there are a couple minor modifications to the exterior of the building proposed as part of the tenant improvements for this project. So on the next slide, I will have some actual images of the areas where the proposed modifications are located, which may give you a better understanding of the proposed changes. So I would just, let's see, draw your attention to the bottom two elevations, so the west elevation and the north elevation. There are no proposed modifications to the east elevation, but starting with the west elevation, and I'll just go ahead and flip to the next slide because it would be easier to show you with those images. So starting with the west elevation, the picture there on the top left shows you the existing door, service door that is located currently as part of that unit. The door that's, well, I guess it would be furthest to the north, the one that's closest in the image there, they are proposing to remove that door as part of this project. And that is because there is the commercial kitchen area is there, and the cold storage is the way I understand it. So they're proposing to close that off and then have the materials match the existing stucco that's there on that building. However, in addition, to that modification, there's also another proposed modification on the north elevation of the building. So if you can see it, it might be covered. I don't know how you guys have your layout of the Zoom system, but there's 3 windows there. And the window that is on your farthest right-hand side, they are proposing at this time to remove that. And that is for the purposes of closing off the cold storage area that's associated with the commercial kitchen.
Andrea, that's on the north side, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to note these potential changes because, you know, the original entitlements were approved with certain architectural elements and articulation, and they are proposing to make minor modifications to those. So just wanted to point that out. But as a potential alternative to removal of the window and primarily the window, but potentially the door also if the Planning Commission so chooses, which could actually allow the original architecture and its intention to stay largely intact. I have spoken with the project architect on one option, which is to provide treatment on the existing window on the north elevation in such a way that would screen the interior of the building, but still retain that window at that location. And the architect is here tonight and can answer questions of the commission that they might have regarding options for treatment of the window if the commission desires to go that route as opposed to the removal of the window. So, a condition, just to note, a condition of approval can be added to the resolution requiring that the window be treated as opposed to be removed as part of this project, if that is desired by the Planning Commission. So again, this next slide just kind of goes over what those proposed modifications are, and that would be removing the existing door on the west elevation or facing McMurray Road, removing the one window on the north elevation facing Valley Vineyard Circle. And again, just noting that it may be a desire of the Planning Commission to retain the window, and there is a potential alternative that has been discussed with the project architect that could be an option for a condition of approval if desired. So just to go into the individual uses that would be located inside of this pad, inside of these tenant suites, just starting with the small batch distillery. So as I mentioned earlier, the distillery is considered to be accessory to the main restaurant use that is proposed. The distillery itself is approximately 85 square feet with, I believe, around 10 seats surrounding this distillery, and which can be used for tasting or for restaurant patrons to sit in and eat as well. The amount of distilled spirits produced on site will be limited to a maximum of 4 10-gallon batches of agave spirits per year, and this has been included as a condition of approval for the project. I will note also that a condition has been added that the spirits produced on site will be for on-site consumption only and cannot be sold off-site or taken off premises. So just some more conditions for the small batch distillery. The building department will, at the building department submittal phase, will require information regarding the distillery operations to verify building occupancy classification. And a condition of approval has been included that basically if a building occupancy change is required, this could potentially require additional review by the city. Further, a can and will serve letter will be required to confirm water and sewage needs, and an industrial discharge permit will be required that does include information regarding process volume and flow associated with the distillery use. Proposed plumbing plans will also be required for the Public Works Director at the zoning clearance and building permit phase. And an ABC license, there's a couple ABC licenses required associated with the project as a whole. And those ABC licenses will be required to be obtained as a condition of approval for this project. As it pertains to the small batch distillery, operations may take place outside of regular business hours as long as no alcohol is being served and it's not open to the public. So moving on to the restaurant use, the restaurant would be the primary use of this project. The area for patrons for the restaurant piece is approximately 1,300 square feet. The original entitlements anticipated 7,500 square feet of restaurant space within the entire Crossroads Center. And the applicant has provided a calculation of area for patrons, which is different from gross square footage. So the area for patrons accounts for just basically the area, the seating area, common public areas for the patrons of the restaurant. And an accounting of that was provided by the applicant, and an estimate of that would be 4,800 square feet currently in the Crossroads Center, which includes the Panda Express, Habit Burger, Starbucks, Chipotle, or the former site of Chipotle, and then also the new California Tacos restaurant. And just another condition here, a fats, oil, and grease permit is going to be required for the restaurant use. There was a permit issued for the all of the other restaurants in the Crossroads Center. However, because a restaurant was not originally anticipated in this particular pad, a separate fog permit will be required for this restaurant. Moving on to the bar use. So again, the bar is considered to be a, same as the distillery, a secondary use to the primary restaurant use. And a condition of approval has been added requiring that at no time shall alcoholic beverages be served if the full restaurant menu is not being offered. And that is simply because the main and primary use is the restaurant use. And another condition that has been added is that there's no live music or dancing permitted. And the ABC license requirement for the bar use, of course, is there, that would be required as well. So again, all the bar and restaurant seating is proposed to be indoors. So just some other conditions of approval, just to note, that have been included in the resolution. There is, so the building department has included a condition requiring that a separate restroom facilities for each sex and common unisex lavatories, hand washing stations are not permitted. I'm sorry. So there were, basically the way that the current floor plan is designed is that they've got individual stalls, but then the hand washing stations are separate. And the condition of the building department is that the hand washing stations cannot be separated. I will just note that a separate sign permit will be required. There was no signage submitted as part of this conditional use permit package. So it's just a separate sign permit will be required at the zoning clearance phase. And then just to note, all applicable conditions from the original entitlements of the Crossroads Center do also apply to this project. And then the county fire department will review the plans when they come in for zoning clearance and building permits. So just to go briefly over the parking, I would like to just note, just to correct an error that was in the staff report. I think the staff report indicates a 1 per 5 employee, parking space per 5 employee parking requirement. It's actually 1 per 2 employees. And the calculation is correct in there. It was noted as 1 per 5. So just wanted to correct that error. So just to go through the parking. So the existing square footage of the 2 tenants suites is 2,597 square feet, almost 2,600 square feet. And the parking requirement for restaurants and bars is based upon area for patrons and then 1 space per every 2 employees. And it got translated into this also, but it's 1 per 2 employees. So the total required parking for the California Tacos restaurant, bar, and small batch distillery would be 10 spaces. And I've provided how that was calculated there in those bullet points. And I just wanted to point out, if a retail tenant were to occupy these units, a total of 9 parking spaces would be required. And that's because the way we calculate retail parking is based upon gross square footage of the unit. And that's really, so just to point out that there's really only a difference of 1 parking space required per the municipal code. I also took a look at what the parking demand for Pad A is based upon the current and proposed uses. So I provided a breakdown of what those parking requirements are. So it's 17 spaces for the cottage urgent care, 4 spaces for H&R Block, and 10 spaces for California Tacos, which would be 31 spaces. And I just wanted to note also here that private on-site parking is available in the immediate vicinity of this project. And I basically, a minimum of what is actually available in the vicinity would be 32 spaces. So I think, parking requirement for this use could be considered to be consistent with the Buellton Municipal Code requirements. So for environmental, an EIR was previously prepared and adopted for the village specific plan. The project is generally consistent with that adopted village specific plan, with the inclusion of some of the conditions of approval for this project that have been added, and therefore no additional environmental review is required. So just one more thing before I get to the recommendation. In the staff report, I did include some language about adjacent other businesses that are located within the Crossroads Center, and the fact that their hours of operation are, from the research that I did, seem to indicate that they close no later than 9 p.m. So this application is proposing to, again, the hours 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I just put it in there as something for the Planning Commission to consider. They can either, choose to keep the 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., which would be reasonable, or they could, if they wished to be more consistent with the rest of the businesses in the Crossroads Center, they could also choose to limit them to 9 p.m. But that's up to this discretion of the Planning Commission as part of this application. And so with that, the recommendation is that the Planning Commission approve Resolution 21-03, which is a resolution of the Planning Commission to approve the conditional use permit to establish a restaurant, bar, and small batch distillery in units 105 and 106 of Pad A at the Crossroads Center. And I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. As commissioners, do we have any questions for Andrea before the applicant comes in or wishes to speak? So I'm going to start with Commissioner Liggett. Do you have any questions for Andrea?
No questions for Andrea.
Okay. Commissioner Sarkia, and welcome. Do you have any questions for Andrea?
Yes, you were saying 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. Could they have gone later than 10 p.m.?
So the hours that they're proposing are actually 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's really at the discretion of the Planning Commission in terms of what hours they choose to impose, if they choose to impose hours of operation restrictions. I will note that, again, the other uses in the Crossroads Center do close at 9 p.m. But it would also be reasonable if the Planning Commission chose to, allow them to stay open until 10 p.m. One consideration one of the reasons in the consideration of thinking about hours of operation may be just considering the locational context of where this use is proposed, and the fact that it is adjacent to, adjacent or relatively near the city park and some residential units there. So that was, I just included that in there as something for the Planning Commission to consider. But again, it would be perfectly reasonable for them to be able to stay open till 10 p.m. if the Planning Commission chose to allow that, or any
later
for that matter. So
could they apply for a later time?
If they wanted to, they could. Mm-hmm.
Okay, they could have. All right, thank you.
Vice Chair Blockdyke, do you have any questions for Andrea?
You're muted.
I'm mute. Okay. No questions for Andrea. I'm waiting for the architect.
Okay. So at this time, I also do not have any questions for Andrea. At this time, I would like to ask or invite into the conversation the applicant and or the agent, whoever wants to speak first or add to the presentation.
Hi, this is Alex Uribe. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I think Andrea did a fantastic job describing what we're trying to do. Only thing I would add is on the time. The reason we chose 10 o'clock is I know a lot of the local people don't have anywhere to eat when it comes to because everybody closes down. Some people get, being at Buellton, a lot of people commute and to other jobs or to other cities, they come late. It's just for them to have somewhere to eat a little later. Per the ABC, we can go up to 2 a.m. I think that's their responsibility. That's not our intentions. Our intention is just to be there at 10 o'clock to offer just a little bit more dining options for people that work and get there late to have that there. But everything else she did, I think she did a phenomenal job and explained exactly what we want to do.
Thank you. Neil or Taylor, I think you're both here. Do you want to add anything?
Nope. This is Taylor. I was just here if anyone had any questions, so I'm good.
Okay, okay,
Nothing to add on my end. Everything sounds good.
okay, great. So at this time, it is a public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing. And up until 6 p.m., we did not have any additional or any comments from the public. Claire, have any others come in?
None. None
Okay.
have been received.
Okay, so we will close the public hearing. At this time, I'll go back to the commissioners and do you have any further comments or questions for the architect applicant? Owner, I think, is here.
I have some questions. So
Okay, great.
I'd like to begin with what other window treatments for the north end could we expect if you so you're going to remove one of the windows, and then also on the west side you're going to remove a door. I think it would be nice to have some kind of a treatment on the west side of the building, whether it's some kind of a lattice work or something to fill that area. Do you have any ideas about that?
So is that directed at staff, or did you want to talk with the architect?
No, that's directed at the architect, and I don't know who the architect is. Is it Neil or?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're describing the window, correct?
Well, I'm describing two things. One, you want to remove one window on the north side, and you want to remove the door on the west side. And I'm just curious if you have any idea of what you could, put there in its place to make it look a little better.
Well, as far as the door goes, I don't think we discussed any treatment for the door. We would like to remove the door and infill to match. It is a service door. It wouldn't look any different than you see it in the picture. It's not a required path of travel. So I haven't thought of any treatment for that. As far as the window goes, we've, with the developer, we've done lattice work on another building where we removed a window that was previously approved in an entitlement set. Certainly, I think considering, the easiest, the path of least resistance on this would probably actually be to treat the window rather than remove the window since it's existing. And so it could be something as simple as, a vinyl that covers the panes of the window, and then we would back it out with the panels of the cold box would just sit behind the window, because if you look at the floor plan, you'll see where that's located. And it could be lattice in front of the window if the window was treated also. So I think those were kind of the options we discussed as to not just remove and infill that window.
Hi, Neil. That sounds like a great idea for the north side. But for where the door is, what I'm worried about is that you're just going to cover up where the door is, and then we're going to have that concrete apron on the outside. The concrete walkway that goes to nowhere. I think that should probably be jackhammered out. Maybe put some kind of landscaping in there. Maybe plant a bush against a wall. I don't know, something to make it look a little better.
Yeah, I think that's. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah. So two things on that. Number one, there's no walkway back there adjacent to the building.
No, there's a little concrete apron right there. Yeah.
And then I just want to point out that cont'd actually replaced the two same doors and infilled them. So there were actually 6 doors along the back, and cont'd replaced 2 of them already.
Okay. I'm not going by what cont'd did. I'm just going by what you guys are doing over here. So it just seems to me like it would not look good to have a little concrete apron there, concrete path there going to the door. It should be taken out probably, so that it looks like the door was never there.
Oh, you're talking about just taking out the little stoop that's right below the door?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't look like it's very big. It looks like it's maybe 6 by 6, but take it out so it doesn't look like it was ever there.
That's fine.
Okay, and then just put a bush there or something. Okay. That's it for me.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
And I'm okay, by the way, I'm okay with the hours, 9 to 10 is fine. I think the city needs it, and I don't really understand the problem because I think it's not that close to the residential. And I mean, Taco Bell is right behind it, and I think they're open till later than 10, right? So what's the big deal?
I'm just going to chime in here too. I had a little bit of a discussion with Andrea today, and she was just putting that into for us to consider because of what the other restaurants are doing right there. But I too, and I'll just go on the record now, and we can put it in our comments later. But I do agree with the applicant and the owner and everyone involved that I like the hours from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like the owner was saying, I've had situations in the past where both my husband and I were working in Santa Barbara, and we both work late, and we get into town and nobody's going to cook dinner and everybody's closed at 8:30. So I think it's a nice idea and a nice option to have a real restaurant instead of just fast food, a restaurant, available with their kitchen open till 10 p.m. And of course, I also think that the market will, either agree or not agree. And if nobody goes after 8:30, they'll probably reduce their hours till 9 p.m. So I'm going with the applicant on that. So I'm just putting that in right now.
Thank you, Patty.
So, and then I'll move to Commissioner Liggett. Do you have questions, comments for the parties?
Yeah, just to echo, I have no issues with the conditional use permits, and I think 10 p.m. is an appropriate hour. I also want to echo my concern with removing that window. I think the proportion of that wall and having just one lone window there would seem off and unbalanced. So if you do remove the window, maybe add some other vertical lattice or vegetation to kind of buffer that wall. Would be my concern. The door, I'm not too concerned about that because that wall is pretty plain as is. So just that window, I question removing it altogether without replacing it with some sort of design element.
Okay. Is that all?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Sarkia, do you have questions for the applicant? Oh, you're muted.
No, I just I was concerned about the 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. I like the later hour. The rest of it all looks good and all sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I just have one question, and that is, from the preliminary or the conceptual review that we had last fall, and then my question is regarding when these plans, and these are not the full construction plans, but the plans that were submitted with the application has the separate bathrooms and the separate labs, and then the county has come in and said that's not permitted. So just want to make sure the applicant and architect are on board and are aware of that situation.
Yeah,
because
thanks,
it is,
Patty. Go ahead, continue.
Oh, I was just going to say, because the verbiage is included in the CUP and the resolution. So.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I spoke with Beth at the county just to confirm her findings and be sure I was understanding it correct. And it sounds like there's an easy resolution, and we're just going to make the fix as we go into those construction documents, and it's not going to make more guest service area or anything. So we're just going to comply.
Okay, great. That's all of the questions. Anyone further comments, or I can summarize here really quickly if there's no further comments or questions from the commission.
Can I make a motion? Are we ready for that?
Let me summarize first.
Okay. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Patty.
Geez, first time as vice chair and he's already here. No, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to staff. Thank you to Andrea for the work put into the project. Very big thank you to the applicant. I think we all can agree that it's great to see more business in the Crossroads Center. Also, I applaud you for the creativity. I really think this is really a nice little project. Restaurant, bar, and then of course the small batch distillery is just a kind of a neat little thing that's going to give everybody a new experience in our city. I think we'll agree, and we'll put the hour stuff into the motion, and address the covering of the window and doing something with that back little apron thing. And that's pretty much it. So again, thank you to everyone involved, and I will take a motion now.
It sounds like you just made it, Patty. I'm good with that. I want to second Patty's motion.
So I guess just to clarify, do we have clear direction in terms of what we would like to do with the window and the door? Is there a consensus of the commission or a motion for any type?
Yeah, I think the consensus, Andrea, is that the window stays. I mean, there's going to be, I think Neil said they can cover it from the back and then insulate it and put their room back there, so that we still have the window.
Okay.
And on the south and on the west side, we just want to eliminate the apron so that it doesn't look like there's an entrance to nowhere, without the door there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And, I think, okay, is that about right, Neil?
I think that's right.
Okay, so in terms of the condition, would it make sense just to confirm that basically prior to the zoning clearance approval for this, that they would, as part of the zoning clearance submittal, they would submit to the planning department basically a proposal for how they would treat the window, and it would be up to the planning director to make sure that fits in with the architecture and the surroundings and things like that. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I think the planning director can make that decision. I mean, based on what we're just saying, we just don't want to see the loss of the three windows. We want to have that last window in there.
So basically, the condition would be to retain the window.
Yes.
All the windows on the north, and treat it with something to cover up, to cover up the interior where the commercial kitchen is.
Yeah, treat it from the inside.
Right.
Yes. If my fellow directors agree, that's what way I feel about it too.
I think we're in agreement. If everyone just wants, yep, perfect, thumbs up.
Yeah. We don't want to have it come back to us if we don't have to.
No, that's exactly why I just wanted to clarify that, I will put a condition in the resolution to that effect.
Okay.
To keep the window, treat the window from inside, subject to approval by the planning director at the zoning clearance.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And then again, also with the door on the back, there's no opposition, or is there general consensus that they can go ahead and do that, fill it in with the matching stucco, however, remove the back apron and replace with some landscaping.
Right.
I think general consensus on that too.
Okay, so I apologize if you want to go ahead and I just wanted to clarify a couple things, and if you wanted to go ahead and.
Do you want me to read the resolution out?
Go ahead, you do it.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
One question? One of the conditions says that the full menu, I think the word in there, full menu, will be served when they're serving drinks. And I don't know, and Alex, you might be able to weigh in on this, but if it's, I don't want them to be locked into like serving breakfast at 10 p.m. because it says full menu in that condition. So I think the idea is that there will always be food available because they're a restaurant primary. But I saw that full, and I just wanted to bring that up before it got
that seems reasonable.
Written in. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, that I thank you for bringing that up, Neil. So yeah, the way that the wording of the condition, it's condition number 27, the restaurant use shall be the primary use. A full menu shall be offered during business hours, including a minimum of 1 main course and 2 sides. So
I have no problem with that. We're a restaurant first from the beginning. If you go to my restaurant, we offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner all the time. So that I'm not concerned with that.
okay.
Okay.
And then we want to, do we need to address in the resolution that the hours from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. are fine?
If you wish, I mean, the way that the resolution is currently written, it has those hours of 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So if you want to keep them, that's fine. The resolution already states that. So
okay, that's fine then. Okay, so then I guess I'll read this and then we can resecond it and vote on it. So resolution number 21-03, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Buellton, California, approving a conditional use permit 20-CUP-02 to establish a restaurant, bar, and small batch distillery use in units 105 and 106 of Pad A of the Crossroads Commercial Center located at 328 McMurray Road, assessor parcel number 137-790-019, and making findings in support thereof, and to include the details that we just discussed with the planning director.
I second that.
Okay,
Can I get a roll call, Claire?
certainly. Chair Hamel,
Aye.
Vice Chair Blockdyke,
Aye.
Commissioner Liggett,
Aye.
Commissioner Mercado is not with us. Commissioner Sarkia.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, applicants, all parties involved. Thank you, staff. Other business. Let's see, someone want to notify Commissioner Mercado that we're on to item number 3.
yes, I just sent the text message. So
Perfect.
do any more.
Okay, item number 3, conceptual review of Shannon Wine Project at 291 Industrial Way, APN 099690027. And will Ms. Tucker begin the presentation?
Thank you, Chair Hamel and members of the Planning Commission.
Sorry.
That was that.
Oh, got to change this.
All right. So we are switching gears here. Andrea is continuing to share her screen with the PowerPoint presentation here. So this project before you tonight is the Shannon Wine Company proposing a winery and commercial project at 291 Industrial Way. This is just a conceptual review tonight. They wanted to get a feeling for how the Planning Commission perceives this project and how staff perceives the project before moving on to a full formal submittal. The project location, the vicinity map is shown right here. This is at the corner of Industrial Way and Highway 246. So the southwest corner. The site here is just under 1 acre. It's currently vacant. The zoning and the land use designation on the site is CS, Service Commercial, and the uses proposed are appropriate to that zoning and land use designation. The height limit here is 35 feet, which this proposal is under 35 feet. And because the property fronts, so it's a corner lot, it fronts on 2 streets. Both streets are considered side yards. So both Industrial Way and 246 are considered, they're considered front yards. And as a result, 10-foot setbacks will be required along those streets. This is a prominent corner. It's the entry to the Industrial Way corridor. The owner and applicant for the project is Gavin Shannon with the Shannon Wine Company. And the designer prepared the conceptual plans is Tony Cano from the Agave Design Group. And they are both here this evening. So at the Planning Commission's pleasure, after I conclude my presentation, they do have a brief presentation as well on the project. And it is a mixed-use commercial project that they're proposing in 2 phases. The first phase is approximately 10 to 11,000 square feet of space. So it consists of wine production space, wine barrel and case storage space, an art gallery and tasting room, outside tasting areas, and office space. They are showing 16 to 18 parking spaces on the plans, and based upon the conceptual plans themselves, it looks like potentially 20 spaces may be needed. But at this stage, this is all very conceptual, so we're just making a note of that they need to, when laying this out further, they need to just be very, careful that all the parking spaces are adequately accommodated. And there is room on the site, it appears to have room on the site. There is a loading area shown, a 10 by 30 space as required by the code. And they're proposing to use the driveway access along Industrial Way as their main and only entrance to the project site. Phase 2 consists of potentially solar panels, which would be on the roof. They're not freestanding panels. They would be on the roof. Potentially one dwelling unit, which would be for employee housing, and that is allowed in this particular zoning code section. And potentially an additional freestanding art gallery. The next slide shows the site plan, and since my cursor doesn't really work on here, I'm not sharing my screen, but this shows Industrial Way at the bottom, Highway 246 at the right. They will be required to put in a buffer area, landscape buffer area along that frontage along Highway 246. And there are some large oak trees on the north end of the site, which they would like to preserve as much as possible. It appears that one of the oak trees may have some decay going on, but nonetheless, they've indicated they like the ambiance of the big oak trees there, so to the degree possible, they'd like to preserve and enhance the landscaping there. Parking layout is shown at both ends of the site. On the top end of the property, as we're looking at it on the screen, it backs up to the mobile home park. So there are residences at the back. So there will be a fencing and landscape requirement back there. And to the left, there is a commercial industrial use there already. I believe it's the, oh gosh, the name of this case. Anyways, there are uses backing up right to the south side of this property. If we could just go to the next slide, it will enlarge the site plan a little bit. So the main floor plan is shown with the production area and the case storage space at the top. The barrel room kind of in the middle, and the entrance and the wine tasting areas are at the bottom of the screen. And to the left, it shows some conceptual designs for the employee unit and the office space. And both of those uses would be on an upper floor within the building envelope itself. And the next slide shows elevations. And these are line drawings of the elevations. The applicant, I believe, will have some more design inspirations for how they envision these buildings being designed. Okay, let's go. So let's go to the next slide. It summarizes some of the comments that staff had. As the Planning Commission is aware of this, on these conceptual reviews, staff does not go into an in-depth review of the project. And we just do a general review for consistency with the zoning and the general plan policies. And we take a look for any red flag items that, the applicant would need to be aware of in further designing the project. But overall, the uses appear to be suitable for the site, and they are overall consistent with the general plan policies for the service commercial zone, which really encourages agricultural supporting businesses to be located within the CS zones and land use area. So this qualifies as one of those uses. The design style presents itself as agrarian, which is appropriate for the area and the type of use that they're proposing. And further review will be needed for some such items as the walls and the fences and the heights in particular. They are proposing a perimeter fence along Highway 246 and Industrial Way of a gabion wall, which is kind of a creative treatment for a fence. So we'll have to take a look at the heights and make sure that the vision clearances are met and the setbacks are met, landscape requirements are met. As well for the parking, the zoning code has landscaping and parking and screening requirements for parking areas as well. And there's an opportunity to put in some monument signage at that prominent street corner. So that's something that we would encourage the applicant to consider, and landscape buffers where they are appropriate. So the next slide, please. Some items that would need to be clarified further. They've talked a little bit about their imminent needs would be for the phase 1 and mentioned some phase 2 uses, but that needs to be further fleshed out in terms of square footages, parking, and the phasing, and what they would actually like to be coming in for the permit for the first phase and how that relates. And just want to make sure that it all fits on the site so they could show some future phasing and still come in with just an application for the phase 1, as long as they can show a site plan that shows the phasing on it. In particular, we'd like to see where the outdoor seating for wine tasting would be located, because they mentioned that they were.
Claire? Yeah, I'm watching it.
And
Okay, I'm here. Thanks, bye.
Clarify where the art gallery and the art studios would be, any overlap with the tasting areas. And just to clarify a little bit further on the intent of the employee housing. And I would like to mention at this point that along Highway 246, there is a driveway apron located at the far west end of the site, which also provides access to an easement area there. So they are not proposing to use, at this point, they're not proposing to use that driveway entrance or not to modify it in any way. But at any rate, Caltrans would need to review any changes to that driveway apron, and we will be, once the application is submitted, we would be sending the plans to Caltrans for review as well. The trash enclosure and design would need to be coordinated with Marburg as well as the Public Works Department. The fire department would need to review this for adequate access, and solar panels are proposed. They just need to describe the location of where those would be going. A preliminary indication of the permits that could be needed for this project would be a final development plan. If they are in fact going to be proposing employee housing, a minor use permit would be required for that. And if they would consider or are considering any kind of food service or coffee service, a conditional use permit would be required for that. They've not indicated that, but I'm just putting that out there as, sometimes we see those types of uses come in with this type of a project. A couple more items that they need to be aware of, that they need to comply with the native tree protection ordinance, because the oak trees are protected. So if any trees need to be removed, there would be a replacement requirement. And there's a possibility that they would need to prepare a traffic study, primarily because of the location of the project. This is a very busy intersection with a lot of different types of traffic going in and out, and we just want to make sure that the amount of traffic to a certain degree, but also the flow of traffic is something that is adequately accommodated. And what we are seeking today is the initial feedback from the Planning Commission on how they perceive the project, the appropriateness of the project, and suitability for the site, and any other comments that you would like to provide to the applicant who is here tonight and is prepared to make a presentation as well. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have of me. And I turn it back to Chair Hamill at this point.
Okay, thank you, Irma. Since this is a conceptual review, before we start firing a bunch of questions at Irma, I'd like to give the applicant and the architect a few minutes to present. Maybe Gavin wants to talk about the overall project, and then I was thinking the architect could kind of walk us through the plan. I know they're very preliminary plans and stuff, but I'm going to have some questions on, where are the roll-up doors and where is the outside seating and that kind of stuff. So if he can maybe just kind of walk us through a quick visual too, and then we'll start our questions. So I'll turn it over to Gavin. Do you have a little presentation for us?
Yeah, thank you. First off, thanks for your time. I created a little presentation, which I'd love to share with you guys. Of course, my Zoom is now giving me a little bit of trouble. Okay, let's see if this will work. Can you guys see my desktop?
Yeah, I can.
Yep.
Okay, great. I am not very tech savvy, which ties into our winemaking and our product. So let's see. Yeah, so I'm Gavin Shannon. I started my business here in Santa Barbara in 2007. Before that, I grew up in Los Angeles. I was introduced to Santa Barbara in 2004. I had just graduated high school, and I was headed to college to study painting, of all things. And I really wanted to get out of town, and I ended up getting an internship in Santa Maria at Buellton Winery, and had very limited interest in wine. As most people growing up in a big city, there's not, it's not really a feasible thing for a kid to grow up wanting to be a winemaker. So I was very lucky to be 18 years old working at this great winery, and I just fell in love with wine, was totally obsessed. I ended up tweaking my school schedule so that I could work up here in Santa Barbara 6 months out of the year, and then go to school for 6 months out of the year. In 2007, I took a year off school and worked abroad in South Africa and New Zealand, traveled through Europe, and came home and started my company with 6 barrels of wine. So I purchased 2 new French oak barrels, and I borrowed 4 French barrels, and I convinced a couple people to sell me grapes, and that was the start of my company. That was 150 cases. We're still a tiny company. We do roughly 5,000 cases a year, so much bigger than 150, but very small as well. I focus on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay almost exclusively from Santa Barbara County. I've only made 25 cases of wine that was not grown in Santa Barbara County. One thing I'm kind of proud of is we are a net exporter, so we sell more wine in Europe these days than we do in the US. We also have markets in Asia, Russia, and working on a couple markets in South America at the moment. Our primary consumer are wine collectors and restaurants. With Corona, restaurants are kind of shut down for the moment, but our collectors have been drinking more than ever, and those people are based all around the world. We've been very lucky to have a lot of press and great scores for our wines. But one of the things I'm most proud of is we sell wine to really some of the best restaurants in the world. At one point, we were in every Michelin star restaurant in London, which was a real chip on our shoulder. I wanted to talk about kind of our scope and our staff and how we operate. There's 3 full-time employees, Jennifer, who's our general manager, Luis, our cellar master, and myself. And I'm kind of half office, half cellar. So very, very small hands-on operation. Total production, I kind of mentioned this before, we're 5,000 cases. In general in the US, under 20 to 25,000 cases is considered a small winery. And kind of for scale, I broke that into, if we were going to bring all those grapes to the winery in trucks, it would be roughly 4 trucks of grapes. So pretty small. As far as pickups, because we're a small winery as well, our traffic's very low. We average about 9 pickups a month. I went through the bills of lading and counted those between November and January, which is typically our busiest time. Obviously we've grown from 150 cases to 5,000. That took almost 15 years. And for me, growth is really measured in quality, not quantity. So we don't have aspirations to be a giant winery. The other nice thing about the way we operate is we only do 2 varietals. The harvest season only lasts 4 to 6 weeks in general. And our bottling is very limited because our production is small. So we can, if we're really running quick, we can bottle about 2,000 cases a day. So 3 to 4 bottling days total per year. As I mentioned, our wine is handmade. So our equipment is very minimal. I would say our largest equipment is a forklift and our press. And yeah, our goals for this space, very excited to find this property. It's kind of a dream of mine being in Santa Barbara. I forgot to mention, I currently live in Solvang, but when I moved up here full time, I lived in Buellton at my boss and mentor's house for a long time off Bobcat Springs. And when I eventually got my old place, I moved onto Central Avenue. So I kind of consider I've spent more time in Buellton than anywhere else. And we're very excited to, potentially move the business there permanently and for the long term, and being a part of the community. Part of that is just finding this beautiful piece of land with these old oak trees. So integrating that into our needs, building a winery. So production's obviously very important. The taste room is important for sharing the wine to the public. And then the art gallery kind of ties in with my background as a painter. So we're looking at, this is very conceptual. So we've been playing around with different sizes along that general plan. And I calculated that we're the smallest building we've looked at is roughly 25% of the usable land, and the largest is 38%. So just wanted to point out that we're well under that 60% threshold and do definitely plan to be. And the other, amazing tie-in for this property is it has a history with a famous family in the area. It has a history of agricultural use. So I think there's a great connection to current agricultural uses, and also the history of the land and the history of Buellton and Santa Barbara County in general. One thing I'm always struck by is we have fans. Luckily we're a small company, so we don't need too many fans to be successful, but we have collectors all over the world that buy our wine and generally have a lot of interest in, once they discover Santa Barbara, which is kind of an underdog wine region compared to the French regions or Napa or Sonoma, they really fall in love with it. They come out and visit us. They host dinners. They're generally the type of people that love staying in nice hotels and eating at nice restaurants and really immersing themselves in discovering this, what they see as really a hidden gem. And then phase 2, we did add some phase 2 ideas just for this conceptual review to get a sense of the commission's ideas. We did see in the zoning that 1 dwelling unit's permitted. And then we definitely wanted to add solar because there's a beautiful south-facing roof in our design that would be perfect for it. And that would be kind of a phase 2 when our budget permits. And kind of just to review goals, we, as a owner-occupied property, we'd want to build our permanent home here in Buellton. I think we're in kind of that entryway of industrial way where there's other wineries, a couple great restaurants, at least one that I know of, maybe 2. So collaborating with neighbors, and kind of being, it's just in a great spot at Buellton. Design style was agrarian, which ties in, I think, to the city style, but also our use. And then, building something that's intuitive and natural and will age well with time, kind of being our long-term, home. And I just very quickly pulled some inspiration of kind of different ideas that Tony and I are looking at for kind of that agrarian style. So some buildings that we liked, some kind of, industrial, but really good looking window designs. I like this building's windows. I didn't like the overall building too much, but I wanted to throw that in. This was a building that I looked at a good amount. I thought from the Commons, which I thought would be a good kind of, tying off piece, since I know this project's spent a lot of time in review. One thing I wanted to mention is storage. We are a very classically styled company. So the wine ages in barrel for 18 months, then ages in bottle for at least a year, sometimes a lot longer. So long-term aging and storage is a much bigger component than actual production. Production's actually very small, and the rest of the space is really storage, which includes barrels, which take up a lot of space, and then also bottles. So we currently keep about a 500 case library of older bottles going back to the start of the company. And then I wanted to show some other kind of, inspirational images for what we're after and kind of the feel. This is not the best example of a gabion wall, but this was kind of our wall idea. And ideally, we'd like to bring in some rocks from some of the vineyards that we work with, which would really tie into our winemaking. Most of our winemaking is vineyard specific, almost all of it. So the soil, the rocks, the climate's really important. And I think that concludes my hopefully brief presentation. And my main goal with this conceptual review is that we're currently in escrow on the property, and because it would become an owner occupied space, I really want to make sure that the use and overall scope of the project is something that the commission's happy about and interested in approving and hopefully seeing built in the near future.
Does anyone have any quick questions for Gavin before we go on to the architect?
Nope.
Okay, nope. Tony, would you give us a quick walk through the very preliminary plans?
You bet. I don't dare say how these plans were produced in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that escrow adds a little bit of pressure.
I'm going to share my screen, so I imagine I have permission to do so.
Yes.
All right, great. Well, thanks for your time this evening. We've been rather excited to share our thoughts, and so here goes. This is just to me is an incredible piece of property. It's not often you get these majestic oak trees. So as part of that, we saw our building or our proposal as a backdrop to this. Here I'm just playing with the concept of additional trees, oak trees. These are trees that are on the adjacent property, which is occupied by the Central Coast Water Authority. These trees back here are adjacent with the mobile home park. This is the apron that is currently there along 246. And this, to best of my ability and measurements, this is the current apron, which allows for in and out travel off of Industrial Way. So, there's proximity to the corner. Another great thing is, as you're here at this traffic light, or even going on the way to Lompoc, let's say, you've got an excellent view of this corner lot. So our idea was to break up the parking, not have this massive parking lot on the corner, but to split it up and perhaps put some parking there in the rear of this portion here, thus tucking the building into the back corner as much as possible. What that allows us to do is look at some sort of landscape elements here that creates a nice buffer, if nothing else, at least a visual buffer between this busy highway and this corridor here. And that kind of gave inspiration to a nice gabion wall. Those are just outstanding, used quite often throughout Europe. You might see them here and there. There's a winery out 246 halfway to Lompoc, which has an excellent gabion wall. I'd say it's about 5 foot high. So we see that as a couple of features. It enhances this whole agrarian feel, I think. It also provides a little bit of somewhat of a security barrier along this busy walkway to keep pedestrians from straying into the property. Irma had talked about parking, so we've got our immediate parking here for this tasting room element, and we've accounted for some additional parking here as well as towards the rear. So we're kind of encouraging when a visitor comes that they may be able to walk here and there and enjoy this property. These were just quick footprints of 800 square feet plus or minus for a future node. So I think in Gavin's presentation, he had some great photos of this sort of an agrarian, rustic, wood-sided buildings. I see some lush landscaping and so forth around here and tucked in around the building. We have talked, again, because it's conceptual, we talked about maybe even the footprint enlarging based on Gavin's needs. So, this would be the same footprint that we've currently presented to you as a group. Moving on to my second, just a larger scale floor plan. So we've got restrooms, barrel storage, the idea of a tasting room, a nice appointed entryway with some roll-up doors. I think the commissioner had asked about roll-ups. We'll get to that. Here's in the floor plan, we've got a number of different roll-ups that allows for free flow of work and use of the winery and facilities. Just a quick roof plan, really just to help us to kind of work out some spaces. If we had this second phase for an employee unit here, Gavin has this great concept of having some clear story windows along this roof line. Let me go to the elevation. I think it'll be better pointed. So in one of the photos, you saw some clear story windows that allow for sort of a passive solar concept. In this case, we'd get this northern light along these high windows. This would be the elevation facing 246. This would be the elevation facing towards Industrial Way. So this is that corner niche with these series of arbors or shade structures out front to help break up the elevation and have this, more of a single story. As it goes towards the back corner, it grows in height. So keep it low impact at the front, and that's this element here. This would be the quote unquote the rear elevation towards the mobile home park. This is the potential for a second unit, phase 2. This elevation would be facing towards the water authority. So not a lot of fenestration with the exception of this element here, just to break that up a bit. There's a tremendous view off this back corner. So if I go back to the site plan, from this back corner, there's a tremendous view of the local hillsides there across Santa Rosa, perhaps. So it'd be nice to be perched up here on this second floor in the future. And that's what that element would be, is a sort of a balcony there to take advantage of that view. Our understanding is there's a 25-foot setback. So here's our property line. Here's that vertical face of the building. Again, here's the front and our immediate parking right off of Industrial Way. I know I've gone quickly through this, so please ask any questions there may be. If not, we can hold on till the end.
I think you can probably continue.
Okay, and then there's a few other elements that we've just kind of entertained and looked at. Budget is always a consideration. So this element here helps to put several of the items together. I believe this is a core 10 perhaps that hasn't quite rusted. These are probably parked barn doors that slide open to a nice roll-up door. Here's your traditional agrarian look, very similar to that in many ways. And then we've talked about various things for the interior. We can do aftermarket trusses just to make this place really sparkle from the inside and be a desirable place for some of the wine collectors that do purchase Chenin wines. Good core 10 there. Haven't talked much about surfacing and driveway, but I think our desire would be to keep it as permeable as possible and deal with on-site water disposal and so forth, even retention possibly as we get further into that level of detail. So in essence, that's our conceptual approach to this property. I'll hand it over to the commissioner.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to both. And again, thank you to Irma. I'm going to turn it over to my fellow commissioners for questions. I'll begin with Commissioner Mercado.
I don't have any questions, but so far I'm liking it. Well, I don't know whether it's a question. I was my two concerns about the project is the Highway 246 entrance. I would prefer to have it on Industrial Way, and especially since this is on a corner lot and it's a kind of entrance to Buellton. Really seeing the conceptual for your monument signs, and I like the idea of your gaming wall. I'm big into trees, and I come from a ranching background, so I like the Western look. So I like the project so far, and I like the idea of maybe with the roll-up doors, but the barn type doors. I think that adds a little class to that piece of property there, especially being on the frontage of Highway 246. So I also like the idea of having your wine tasting outside with a small patio or whatever area like that. But so far, so good. My only other concern is on the west side, how to not so much screen, but just to prevent any issues we have with the senior park over there. They've been there for a long time, so we have to have that concern of just making sure. I don't think because you're having most of your production toward the Industrial Way side, the noise issue won't be a problem. It'll just be the aesthetics. And with the 25-foot setback, keeping some of the bigger oak trees and some more landscaping, I think it looks great. I think you guys did an outstanding job, and looking forward to working with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Commissioner Liggett, would you like to step in? Questions, comments?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I like the project. I like the scale of it. The inspirational design images, I think, are fantastic, fit the character. I like the footprint of the buildings that don't take up most of the site. So overall, the scale of the project, I think, is perfect for this space, especially that you're keeping the oak trees. That really helps maintain the character and identity of the site in the San Ynez Valley. I do have some concerns. First of all, I like the idea of breaking up the parking lot, having a couple smaller areas as compared to one large. However, moving people from that back parking lot to the wine tasting facility at the other side of the property, having them cross in front of kind of a loading dock or whatever those maintenance or operational entrances are, might have to take some care with how people move through the site so they don't just walk by a truck or through the parking lot. Somehow having some sort of formal or designated walkway from that back parking lot to the main entrance of the wine tasting. I like gabion walls as well. I think they meet the character of this of the valley. However, I think a 4 to 5 foot wall right on the sidewalk is too tall. If you're in a car, you can't see over a 4.5 foot wall. It's going to feel more like a compound, I think, than a barrier. If you want to try to keep people out, maybe have a 2 to 3 foot wall pushed back with a little landscape buffer. That way you can visually see in, and then it's more comfortable to walk down the sidewalk. Having a wall go right up against the sidewalk, you're creating this really harsh edge, not very comfortable or inviting. So I really would like to see that wall reduced in size. I don't know if you have a minimum or maximum height for a barrier, or how to treat that, but I would consider making it more pervious in terms of being able to see through. Because this place is, the Industrial Way is kind of up and coming, there are other wine tasting facilities and restaurants. I think we need to focus a lot on walkability down the street. I know I would walk here from where I live. So with that being said, again, reducing the height of that wall, but also kind of designating kind of the entranceway for pedestrians and how they enter the site. Maybe more noticeable, maybe having that more accessible, and then again, guiding people to where the site wine tasting facility is. Doesn't look like there's a clear entranceway or access to that. The art shops, I think, are nice touch. Obviously, they look very conceptually laid out right now. A question may be, if someone were to come just for the art, not for the wine, how would they access those wine shops? Is there direct access from the sidewalk? Or again, do you have to walk through the parking lot? Do you want the frontage of those art shops to be on the sidewalk, or do you want it to be only for the patrons that are inside who actually walk into the parking lot or in the wine tasting facility? Those are my kind of general comments that come to mind when looking at the site plan. And I guess one last thought, I can't really tell where an outdoor seating area is. Is that right in front of the main entrance to the wine tasting facility?
We've talked about the possibility of up front here,
Okay.
hence this door, and then that we've also given access to the restrooms. So there might be some outdoor space here. We'll have to get a better feel for that, really, in terms of as you've mentioned, which is noted, pedestrian traffic and so forth. We'd rather not see asphalt or concrete here. So some of the concepts we've talked about, pavers, loosen this up a little bit so it's not so harsh, and introducing more landscaping under the trees, perhaps, and around this parking lot, perhaps even at the entry to the facility. So to answer your question, I think we see it out here, huh, Gavin?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and with the wall, that's great food for thought. I think there's kind of a balance for us of feeling very inviting and then also feeling somewhat, for lack of a better word, cozy when you're inside. So that's definitely a balance that we're thinking a lot about. And yeah, foot traffic for sure on Industrial Way.
Okay. One last question. You said you have 3 employees. So you will not have any more than 3 employees working here at any given time. Does that include maintenance or operators?
So we currently have 3 in our space in Lompoc, which is a total space of about 9,000 feet. Obviously, with tastings being shut down at the moment, or at least for us, because we don't have outside space, we don't have more. I would anticipate some maintenance and then also some tasting room staff. So I would kind of need to do a projection about that. And one thing we briefly thought about is potentially having employee parking in the back. So I'm not quite sure, about an 800 square foot space. We might be talking about 1 or 2 additional tasting room employees as we move into the space. And again, because so much of this is storage intensive, it sounds a bit and we do run a very tight ship. It sounds a bit crazy that we only have 3 people, but for most of the year, aside from a few weeks, the product is just sitting there in barrel.
Alrighty. Well, thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Liggett.
Thank you.
I will turn it over to Commissioner Sarkia. Do you have some questions or comments?
Let me unmute. Come on, baby.
Oh, you just muted.
I think we're getting in.
You're muted, Mark.
Yeah, you're still muted.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, darn it. Anyway, yeah, I like the presentation. And I do agree with Commissioner Liggett that I don't care for a wall around the property being that high at all. And for me, living across 246, my entrance to that facility would be as a pedestrian. I wouldn't be parking there. So walking across 246 and along 246, I would enjoy seeing the facility rather than a 5-foot wall. The other comment I had was it seemed like most of the windows were on the north facing area, but note that the sun is always on the south side of Buellton. So you would pick up a lot more light inside with the sun from the sun being coming in through the south side, which I don't see in your drawings very much.
Yeah, that would be this elevation. So, we don't want to fight too much heat at the same time. So we've got solar gain issues with the storage of wine, which is very, very much an enemy of wine. So we'd have to do some sort of, if the commission were to request other fenestration here, we'd have to go above and beyond it to control the environment there, keep it cool as possible.
Well, I didn't know that. I'll make a note of that.
Sure.
But where there's going to be presentations and or offices and wine tasting, I guess that's where you want to make sure that you were getting the use of wine or windows. Wine.
That's right.
Thank you.
Point well taken.
And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Blockdyke, you're up.
I got a few things. Okay. So anyway, to begin with, actually, I love the proposal. I love the fact that the buildings are positioned on the south side and the west side of the property, with the north side and the east side being more open. There's so much I love about this project. It's hard to go over the whole thing. I think Tony has done a great job trying to work with the existing oak trees, which impresses me. I do appreciate the comments by Commissioner Mercado and also Aaron about the gabion wall being lower along the north side and the east side, where the wind won't be blocking wind anyway. This is an area where you'd want it to be about 2 or 3 foot tall, because it's not blocking wind. It's just blocking the view. And it would be incredible to sit in the nook of that building, enjoying the view of the northeast side, So I kind of wish that I was able to control the cursor right now for you guys. But the one thing I don't like is the only problem I have with the whole project is the ingress and egress. And on the industrial way side, I believe the ingress and egress should be as far to the south as possible on industrial way. and I don't mean all the way to the border, but I mean taking those, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 parking spots and moving them to the north and then opening up a driveway there. And that's because, you know, everybody that's leaving this property is going to be making a left-hand turn to get on Industrial Way to go whichever way on 246. So it's you know, I don't have to do a traffic study to see that you want to be as far south as possible on Industrial Way for ingress and egress. And the same thing on Highway 246, you want to be as far to the west as possible for ingress and egress if you do want to have a driveway over there. So that's about it. But other than that, I love the design. I think it's appropriate. Everything about this project spells a good thing for Buellton.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for your comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Blockdyke. So I believe everyone has spoken. First and foremost, isn't it nice that this is not on Avenue of Flags and we don't have to hear me drone on and on about Art Deco for once?
I actually love Art Deco, but
well, if you watch any of our other planning commissions, I do too. Anyway, I do love the design for this area. I think this can be a real showpiece for our city, our community, and for Industrial Way. It will be a lovely gateway into Industrial Way. I like the overall design of pretty much everything. I agree with all of the other commissioner comments and questions, and I believe they've really, covered everything. I think that I just say it one more time. I think the Gabion wall is a really cool concept. But again, I'm in agreement with everyone else in that maybe it's a little lower so, we can see the showpiece that this property is going to be. Again, I agree with everything about, I think we're all going to walk down there and look around and taste some wine because we're all within walking distance. And so again, to be able to see it from the 246 is very cool. And yeah, again, overall concept good. The agrarian fits nicely into that area. That's all I really have. So I guess at this point, Andrea, Irma, do we just say we can't wait to see the full application?
Yes, at this point, exactly what the commission has done is provided comments and direction to the applicant so that they can take those into consideration and further flesh out those items that they need to, and hopefully come back with a an application to move it forward.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. I look forward to sharing some wine with you guys, hopefully, and not too distant future.
We're ready, Gavin.
I just appreciate the healthy interchange and the comments. It's always great to get on and not feel as though the project's being attacked, but being enhanced by everybody's comments. So we really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for the presentations and thank you for the concept.
Outstanding. Gavin, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Tony's office is a block away, so that also ties in our local element. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on. Written communications, doesn't look like there is any. Planning commissioner comments. Do I have any comments from the commissioners?
Good.
Nope. I'm going to add a few things here. I think our planning director will probably say the same thing, but I thought I'd throw them in. Andrea has sent out an email to us about the upcoming League of California Cities Planning Commissioner Academy. It's all online and Zoom at the end of March and beginning of April. I would encourage anybody to sign up with. Andrea will help you sign up with that. I did it because I haven't been to one of these academies for a few years, and I kind of like the idea of it being online and on Zoom, because if you can't make any of the live Zoom meetings, everything will be recorded so you can go back to it. Anyway, so just encouraging anyone who's interested in some further training and some, general knowledge about all things Planning Commission. I encourage you to sign up for that. And then just a reminder that the land use joint meeting with City Council is next Wednesday, and I'm hoping that all of you will attend that with us too. And that's all I have. So I'll turn it over for our planning director report.
Thanks, Patty. Well, I think you pretty much covered what I was going to cover, so thank you. But I will just echo that yes, the Planning Commissioner Academy is coming up here, like Patty said, end of March, early April. Encourage you to attend. It's virtual. You can go back and look at the sessions later. And it even gives you, the way they worded it was a coupon for a later, typically at the Planning Commissioner Academy in person, there are sessions for your mandated harassment and ethics training. In this case, it sounds like they're not going to have them as part of this, but they will give you a coupon for a later training for that. So that's an added benefit also. If you do attend the Planning Commissioners Academy, I think there's a deadline by which you need to use it. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. But yes, if you'd like to apply or learn more, just reach directly out to me and I'm happy to chat about it with you. But I've been to it myself in person a couple years ago now, and there was a lot of really great sessions. So I do encourage you to apply. So. And again, Patty already covered it here, so thank you for that as well. But yes, the loose workshop, as a reminder, I believe all of you have RSVP'd to that. The joint workshop with the City Council is next Wednesday, the 24th at 6 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you there. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. We will adjourn the meeting at 7:46 p.m.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Andrea, Claire, Irma, staff, everybody. Great seeing you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.